From where I come from, not many people get here. I'm telling my story. It's the start of something, the Great British Dream. It's a bit bigger than an album, this. Yes. The Great British Dream is the most accurate I've been in kind of communicating what I think it takes, but also telling the story from a more vulnerable place of what actually happened. Because you got to heal to a certain place to even talk about certain things.
Yeah. Look, they didn't think I'd go twice, I said me neither. The game died and these rap niggas need a leader. Sent in a drone with a heat seeker. Looks like the road still hotter than a chicken tikka. But the game's lukewarm like a cheap freezer. Album mode and I'm the GBD releaser.
Like as a child, as a young man, I was violent, but I didn't know any different. You know, I was brought up in a violent household. And as you become a man, you have to understand what's okay and what's not. Are you going to allow the negative things that have been done to you to make you a negative person? That's a process. Some people don't go through that process. Some people don't feel encouraged enough to go through that process. They're the guys that you see in the jail documentaries. I know these guys from when, just before it all went wrong. And within the Great British Dream Project, I'm trying to speak to these people directly because I don't believe that anybody in the government knows the language. From where I come from, not many people get here. Within the Great British Dream, talking about the transcendence, like a mindset I'm trying to put across in the album. All we know is the estate. That's one of the lines that I say in the album, and it's true. My world a minute ago was tiny. I'd be bothered about what everyone on the estate's thinking, and then all of a sudden your world gets a bit bigger, and eventually you tapped in. So the Great British Dream is the celebration of it happening once. Do you get me?
It's Bugs. So this one's for my old friends. Came up with me in the bits in my old ends. Yeah. Goes like this. Look. This one's for my old friends.
In psychology, they talk about trauma and they say that, like, if a household falls apart and you don't have your mum and you don't have your dad, then a lot of young men turn to gangs. The gang becomes the family, and that's just what happened to me. So, 12 or 13, when I'm falling out of the kind of family situation, I'm meeting gang members and they've all got fancy nicknames. I didn't have one. So I was called Little Bugs. I think it's because I had goofy teeth and looked like Bugs Bunny, maybe. And that was that, but how cool the kids were that were calling me that, I kind of didn't care. They could have called me anything. And then at some point in my life, I ended up in jail. There was a lot of Birmingham guys, Liverpool guys, and they have a tendency to put a Y on the end of things. It became Bugsy. When I done my first video, when the cameraman said, "What's your name?" he was just like, "Bugsy Malone, man. Bugsy Malone."
Yo. Bugsy Malone.
I was rapping Tupac in my back garden when I was about 10. Actually writing lyrics. I went out with this new group of friends that I'd acquired. It was some rough kids. And every flipping half an hour or an hour or so of being out on the streets, they'd stop, someone would put a beat on. Everyone would start spitting lyrics. And I'd be listening, I'd be like, this is cool, and I'm a creative person, right? So then I went home and wrote my lyrics. Mine was different. I didn't know what was different about them until recently, and it's because I speak in stories.
Look.
Drove past my mum's old house on Berry New Road, the one she got evicted from. Went to McDonald's, ordered a cheeseburger and chips on an addicted one. Then I heard, can I get a picture? Stood there and I took 15 pictures done with 15 different kids. I was there on the phone, but I left tongue twisted done. I know I paint pictures with words, but I didn't know I was the gifted one. And now they say I put money on the map, so I hashtag 0161. Drove back past my mum's house, looked through the window on a reministic one. Shouldn't have done that, cause now I'm having flashbacks of the days when I had hectic fun on Super Mario, Donkey Kong, and I was on my Nintendo all day long. I could hear loud shouting downstairs, back and forth like ping pong. The gift came with a curse. Ever since 10 years old, my head's been gone. And now I wanna climb to the top of the Empire State Building just like King Kong. Had problems with the DVLA, so I was on a bus arriving late. But now the S-line floats like a butterfly. I'm feeling like Cassius Clay, but I'm not a heavyweight. The only thing heavy is the weight of the world on my shoulder. I used to be afraid of an odor until I put in a revolver. I was cold then, now I'm colder. I voice note lyrics, you write in a folder.
Yeah, man. The one we got evicted from. It's interesting because I've got a box of stuff here. Like when I moved into here, I got all my things out of storage, and then there was a box of stuff from my old house, the one we got evicted from. And what happened was, I mean, I was kicked out at the time. That's just how messy life was. And then my mum and that must have got evicted. All of your belongings stay in the gaff. So my mum literally left with the clothes she had on her back. I was already kicked out. And kicked out's not like moving into your mate's house. It's just like you leave with the clothes you got on your back. So my whole life was in that gaff. And they boarded it up. And flipping, we had no access to it because we was in so much debt. So I went back to the house, pulled the boards off, kicked the door down, and went into the loft and got my baby pictures. So I got, and a few little daft things I was picking up as I was walking through the house. And I've obviously kept them in a box. And I've got them here. So they're quite interesting to look at. When you hear that as a lyric, it just sounds like entertaining, right? But there's a lot of pain attached to that. You know, and sometimes the lyrics just don't do it justice. So anyway, I guess this was the point where people related or whatever. Sometimes I'm just having a laugh. Sometimes I'm just being boisterous. And every so often I just pull the fucking, you know, pull the curtain back. And it hurts. Do you know what I mean? Because for you to even share in a room full of just the people in here now, one of your like darkest moments, you'd feel a bit vulnerable about it. But when you do it on flipping YouTube, 32 million people might have watched there, but 10 million of them people might hate my guts and not care. And just take that information and think, idiot, what an idiot, what a weakling, what a, you know. But that comes with the territory. So you have to get used to that and accept that that's what it is. And I accepted it when I fell off my bike. I woke up to like RIP messages of like respectful people, and then other people was like, he deserves to die. I don't think they had to tell me what happened. I think I knew. And then the doctors start coming in and telling you about your injuries. That's not nice. That's not nice, because doctors have a way of just telling you the information. They're not your mates. They're not coming to candy coat it. Do you know what I mean? They just tell you straight. And by the way, you got a bleed on the brain. You're like, do I live through that or do I die in this? And they're just like, we don't know.
Here when the car pulled up, I knew that we was crashing. And at the point my life was meant to start flashing, I just blacked out. Woke up on the concrete with feathers everywhere. The Montclair was ragged out, me I had it mapped out. Now I got bleeding on the brain, the same shit that killed my cousin. Yeah, I swear I miss Dane. Couple niggas turned out to be fake, but I'm too rich to argue these days, so I just give it space. On the hospital bed, the morphine on me tripping, giggling at nothing, into reminiscing. Crashed doing 70 without wearing a helmet. Believing God or not, there's no denying a blessing. I was on the ward, slowly healing. Lay on the bed and my chest was beating. The blood clot passed through my heart and into my lungs, and the pain was a deeper feeling. I shouted for the nurse, I could feel myself leaking with a face full of sweat. Could barely catch my breath, even though I knew I was hanging by a thread. I told the nurse that there's no way I'm dying on this bed, fuck that.
Flipping it, I've never even spoke about this in this detail, other than privately. And what basically happened is, I'd got engaged. And it was this thing, it was all over the papers and flipping. I don't know why they made such a big deal out of it. And what being engaged does is it ramps it up. The stakes are higher. And in the stakes being higher, I was starting to feel as if I wasn't in the right situation. But you're 100% committed, right? Because you're engaged. And there was a night where I was feeling like there was a lot on my mind. I needed to think, clear my mind or whatever. The whole famous thing was getting a bit overwhelming. If you come from a city like mine and you're gonna do as well as I've done, the criminals aren't gonna like it. But if you have an upbringing like mine, you have to go through all the things that I've been through, it means you don't care what the criminals think, you're gonna do it anyway. So that was causing a lot of conflict, in that there was shootings going on and stabbings going on, and actually I could feel that something bad was gonna happen. I thought, how about you clear your mind? Do something functional for once. You got a nice motorbike, polish it up, take it out on the roads, you know, relax. So actually I might just driving around quite normal, and then fans pull up next to you. Yes, boys, and what you want to do is you want to keep everyone entertained, right? So then I start flying just to be like, give them that experience of bumping into me, make it a bit of fun. On the internet, they made it seem as if I was just driving like a madman. What they didn't know is actually I'm thinking, should I break up with my girlfriend here? But I'm engaged, and like, I posted about it on Instagram, and I'm going through all that in my head. I see them guys, I put a bit of a show on for them, and then when I get around the corner, I end up in an accident. And in that happening, it kind of reset my whole life. The lead up to it, I wasn't sure musically where I wanted to go next. And then I crashed. And then it was album time.
And that's what this album is, man. That's what my whole career is. This is the story of my life. You get me? And the reason Vincent van Gogh is my favourite artist, because he painted his story for his truth. You get me? For the madness, for the happiness, for the sadness. You get me? And that's what I intend to do with this whole album.
Like, this whole career path for me served as like my journal. You're listening to my diary, essentially. I've just decorated it so it's interesting. But for me to listen back, it's like flipping it. People hear the words in the decorated song, I see the situation. You know, and in MAM1 where I'm saying my uncle's face got tore out by the pellets of a shotgun like Frankenstein. Sounds pretty, right? But like in real life, that comes with a different set of ramifications. It's a different reality to how it sounds. So for me, I see a different thing when I listen back to my lyrics. And then recently, I've only just understood that these parts of the story you can't tell until you've come to terms with it. These stories in the Great British Dream that I've told, that I've never told before, just because I've never felt before like it needs to be discussed, or I'm ready to discuss it. Big step in 24, no messing. He wants to be the king of the north, God bless him.
You know, watch this. See my JDZ Spitfire's always getting replayed. I've come a long way from my Audi A3 days. I used to have the crop gap for the green like I was T-Way. So my JDZ Spitfire's always getting replayed. I've come a long way from my Audi A3 days. I used to have the crop gap full of green like I was CJ. They let you freestyle on the showroom when they been paid. Everybody's falling off, me I like to maintain. I guess that makes me a big dog, call me the Great Dane. Them man blew their money on their side chicks and their champagne. I wanted the latest mobile for my back cave. I broke up with my ex.
Let's say that little bit again.
Falling off, me I like to maintain. I guess that makes me a big dog, call me the Great Dane.
Everybody's falling off. Me, I like to maintain. I guess that makes me a big dog. Call me the Great Dane. Like, a lot of these rappers just fell off, because don't forget how hard it was for me to get in. Coming from Manchester, right? I just wasn't taken seriously. So I had to be cheeky to make, like, the industry. And London has almost taken me serious. And then to be in the game now at this stage and be one of the front runners, you know, and to watch even some of the old front runners fall off. People have forgot that it's a job description, and you still have to do your job, and you still have to maintain. The jumper that I've got on there says infamous. That's my thing, the infamous one. I'm not a celebrity. I'm the same as everybody in this room and everybody watching this video. Do you get what I'm saying? But I'm someone that's been brave enough to believe in my dreams. you know, and somebody that's been through enough pain to actually be desperate to make that happen.
It's the year of the great British dream, when an independent rapper's on your cinema screen. You wanna see the trainers? I just put in JD, and the albums like the great British blueprint on how to succeed.
I'm doing a store signing for the fragrance for the House of Vision in the fragrance shop, and it was in the Arndale. So I shoot a quick vid. Plus, I've not been to my home city for a minute. Like, I like pulled up and come out in flipping like a big shopping centre or whatever, because I've been busy working. So I thought, since I'm about, let me bump into people, let me see everyone and say hello, let me make a moment. And this in Manchester is a moment everyone can be proud of. Everyone buzzes off, like as Mancunians would, you know, we're making an impact. Can I go get some food? Yeah. Yes. Today we're in Kit Game. This has been the last signing of, how many did we do? Seven places. All of them has been filled up, met a lot of people, heard a lot of people's stories. So I'm tired, but happy about how it's gone. People that have been through a lot of stuff, what I've tried to do in this album is, I don't know, talk about the small details of like coming from struggle and transcending into a better life position. So they relate. I guess I'm doing my job. You know, it's a bit of an emotional week, I have to say. Like, I've done an interview on Lab Bible, I'm crying in the interview. And then I'm seeing all nice messages and that. People are coming out to see me, support me. This is, how many albums? I'm about 3 albums in, 5, 6 projects in. And we're flipping, like we're in the top 10 right now. Like, I'm just grateful, do you know what I mean? The dream continues. Yeah.
Can't leave the house till you found motivation. I'd like to freestyle a profound explanation. It's only ever fallen angels that sit down next to Satan.
The process of making an album is quite a raw process, because you're having to open certain boxes, talk about certain things that you wouldn't necessarily talk about every day. I think it's positive because I think I get to address things that people just put in a box and never go back to. You know, and that's why they have to get drunk or be on drugs, because they just never want to think about them thoughts. I just have that fight and think about things. So I guess I'm lucky in a respect that I get to do that naturally. Ordinarily, trauma starts in childhood. There's a pool of people that are all brought up into a similar situation, and it's just a dysfunctional household. No matter what variation of that it is, it just is what it is. So I'm telling my story, but a lot of people relate to it because it's the general story. And I understood that in my early projects, people are relating to me. You know, like in my early mixtapes, I was talking about depression because I was depressed at the time, or just overcoming it. So I just try and talk about my story in detail. That way people can relate, because I've just said the truth. And then I talk about how I transcended it and what it took.